Hello and welcome to another episode of The Closing Track, the official podcast of Another Ascending Lark, where music and the Christian worldview collides with that really, really painful final smash that sends your character flying off the screen at 300 damage when you were just about to win the match.
And off the motorcycle.
Or off the motorcycle.
Yes.
Whichever one is worse. In some cases, losing the final round of a smash fight is worse because there's money involved. Which, I mean, if you're that close to, about to make some bank, and then you get hit by something and you're flying off the screen.
Well, technically you can combine the two because Wario's final smash involves a motorcycle.
You're right.
That is impressive.
Yep. That is impressive, yes. And that is very much true. But I don't think I've ever actually been hit by Wario's final smash to the point where I've been sent off the screen.
Yeah, his is pretty weak.
I mean, his just kind of sucks. Just kind of like Wario as a character. I mean,
Zero Suit Samus's final smash is horrible to fight against.
It really is. Like, it takes an eternity to get through it.
Yes.
But it could be a lot worse. I mean, it could go even longer, hypothetically. Yeah. I hope that never happens.
A 5-minute final smash.
Gosh, why in the... Like, that's like the length of an entire match.
Yeah.
Like, the match is...
5 minutes or 20 blasts.
Whichever comes first. This is terrible. Like, that's a terrifying prospect. And then, like, watch as everybody starts playing as that character solely to have the benefit of having a final smash that does all the work for them. Why learn how to fight? We can just get the final smash and be God.
Basically.
For a short amount of time.
I mean, that's not heresy at all that you just said.
No, it's not heresy. I'm certainly not claiming. Although, if Jesus and one of us were to play Smash Brothers, I'm pretty sure Jesus would win every time.
Definitely.
I mean, I just have a hunch that Jesus is quite the gamer. That Jesus, who, according to the Gospel of Luke, as Luke records the response of some of the Jews, that Jesus does all things well. And by logical extension, Jesus games well.
So which character would Jesus play?
Well, I don't think he would play that game because clearly his favorite game would be Halo.
Oh... I see what you did there.
That's fine with me. I mean, Halo is my favorite game ever, so that's fine with me. I mean, if Jesus wants to, do a couple of headshots from across the map, I mean, headshot.
I'm sure he could.
We are really getting into some dangerous, murky waters. My name is Austin. I am the head honcho of Another Ascending Lark. I am the one responsible for making this whole entire shindig happen, and I am the guy who has literally been playing as Marth for a decade.
And I'm Brett. I'm the other guy here. And, brain farting, the editor of Another Ascending Lark. I make sure Austin spells correctly, which can be a very difficult job. And
it's gotten better with time.
Not much better. And while I've played and owned every Smash Brothers to date, I haven't found that one character that truly clicks with me.
If you're a regular listener of the show, you've undoubtedly have heard a mysterious third voice coming from your phone or from your computer. That third voice is our first ever 2015 guest and is the first guest to ever be present when Brett and I are both present, meaning that this is the first show where we have had 3 people recording at the same time, which is kind of cool. Introducing our guest for the day, Mr. Andrew Michael Akins. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty good.
You're doing pretty good?
Doing pretty good.
Good. What did you have for lunch? I'm curious.
Oh, just some spaghetti. Nothing that special.
I didn't know if you went to Torchy's or not.
No.
I have not been to Torchy's yet.
I haven't been either.
Oh my gosh, finally! I found someone else who hasn't been to Torchy's yet.
I haven't been to Torchy's either.
Here's the thing. I've been to Torchy's once, and it was in Lubbock. Back in, I want to say March, I went and played a show down in Lubbock. Oh, okay. And someone was like, dude, you should go to eat at Torchy's. And I was like, okay. So I went and ate at Torchy's. And next thing I know, I spend $16 on a meal.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, whoa. If I remember correctly, I think I got like 3 tacos and a side of rice and a drink.
What
and
the
it was
heck?
Like,
and you paid $16 for that?
It was expensive.
Was it worth it?
It was good.
But not worth $16.
But it was also, that Torchy's we went to, me and my friend Corey, it was really close to Texas Tech. So you walk in and instantly it's like and like party club music, you know.
Because that's the only kind of music allowed on college campuses, apparently. Especially a party campus like Tech.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, it makes perfect sense for Torchies to be there because, I mean, what do high and drunk people want at 2 o'clock in the morning? Tacos.
They want tacos.
I have no idea if that's even remotely true or not.
It is incredibly true.
We know some people.
Go to Taco Bell sometime after 10. You will see what we mean.
I've been to Taco Bell a couple of times after 10, and I don't defend my choice there. It was a very poor choice on my part, and the food later gave me problems that normal Taco Bell hours didn't provide. I mean, it just seems like after a certain while, the Taco Bell food just degrades even further past its edibleness to a point where it doesn't matter how you're feeling. If you eat it, it's gonna jack with you.
Well, I guess I just have a strong stomach thing because that's never happened to me.
Well, that is definitely true. All right, so one of the things that we of course like to do whenever we have new people on, and this is the second person that we've ever had join the show, is we want to get to know our guests by way of their top 5 favorite albums. And so, do you happen to have a list of your top 5 favorite albums of all time? If you were to be stranded on a desert island with a power generator and a record player, what would you take?
Yeah, and you know, I've thought about this a lot because I, obviously being a musician, I don't think you mentioned that, Austin, but
you are a musician.
I do play music. I write songs. I take my music seriously, and I take the music I listen to very seriously, almost scrupulously, you could say.
So like
if
us.
that's even a word. Yes.
So like us.
Yes. Perhaps not as pompously, but
okay.
I'm just kidding.
No.
So I hammered out a top 5. I wouldn't say that these are necessarily the albums that have influenced me musically the most, but I think they encompass everything I like about music excellently, and in a certain order. So,
all right. So what would they be?
Number 5 is "Apologies" by David Ramirez.
Okay.
Some of you listeners know who David Ramirez is. He's from Texas. He lives in Austin currently. Really good folk, country-ish singer-songwriter. He does really good with just himself and an acoustic guitar. But what he did with Apologies is he had a lot of good full band stuff thrown in there alongside his like solo acoustic guitar type work, and it sounded really good. A lot of like some Johnny Cash sounding songs, some Bob Dylan sounding songs. His voice has a really good range, and the lyrics are like, they cut your heart, man. They really do.
I love lyrics that cut my heart. Actually, no, I don't. It's only after the fact, because in the cutting process, you're just like, make it stop.
But then once you scar over, you enjoy the pain.
Perhaps.
What's number 4?
Number 4 is "Love and War and the Sea in Between"
by Josh Garrels.
By Josh Garrels.
That is an outstanding.
It is
album.
outstanding. It was at one time my favorite album. The reason it's not anymore, I've kind of grown in love with less is more ideas.
Okay.
You're gonna hear the first 3 and be like, "Shut up! That's not less is more." But it's just that, yeah, because they're not. Maybe one of them is, but the top 2 albums is like the opposite of less is more. So, but I used to love this album a lot. I still do love it a lot. I would say no other album flows as good as this one.
It has an outstanding album flow, and especially considering like the diversity of the styles that he brings to the table.
Like he brings forth, alternative rock, pop, a lot of folk, even some hip hop in there.
Yeah, even some hip hop in there.
He throws in some classical. Like I think he has a song in a modal key, which for those of you who don't know what a modal key is, you won't find a modal key in pop music. Trust me on that.
I thought pop music didn't have anything like remotely music related to it. So not only would you not find modal keys, you wouldn't find, major keys or minor keys, or you just have noise.
The main thing, even though the music is so grandiose and so good, the main thing I love about this album is the lyrics are so good. They're spiritual, but they're also achingly human.
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
the thing that's the thing that connects you to Josh Garrell's album. That's the thing that has it on repeat for me.
Oh, yes.
Because any other Christian album, it's not human. It's not human.
I would say the majority of them
that is a overgeneralization, but the
For
thing
the
I
most
loved
part.
about it is that it's human. Number 3 is an album I just discovered this past year, and I fell in love with it. It's Weatherman by Gregory Alan Isakov.
Never heard of it.
And Isakov is not that well known, but he's a folk artist, and he writes really traditional type folk music. Weatherman, he actually recorded on analog tape, so it has this really dusty sound, this really authentic.
Analog tapes, even though, it's a very rare thing nowadays, it gets you a sound that digital technology still has not been able to replicate very well.
Not at all. And he has it mixed so well. And what's cool about this album is it's mostly stripped down a lot. It's just him and his guitar, and then you'll throw in some piano, you'll throw in some bass, you'll throw in some percussion. He has a song where the percussion is recorded in another room. And they have the mics in one room and the drum set in another room, and so you get this really distant sound.
That's actually kind of cool.
That sounds really cool, and they pan it to like one side. That
That's
just sounds like you're listening to it in another room.
That's legit.
The lyrics aren't anything that's like really specific that you're like, wow, I can relate to this guy, but they're really poetic, and that's really cool because he has a way with words. And we're not talking about poetic like Bon Iver, like they don't make any sense.
Yeah, I don't understand a single thing that guy has ever written, and I don't necessarily care for him either. I tried. I honestly tried, but I was just like, I don't have the hipster level necessary to appreciate this. Like, my hipster level, I haven't evolved enough yet.
Be glad for that, and do not evolve into more of a hipster than you already are.
Just hold an Everstone.
Yes, indeed.
Just hold an Everstone.
We don't believe in hipster evolution.
Oh, you don't?
Is it too mainstream?
We already swam out of the mainstream.
Oh, okay.
What's number 2?
Okay. But yeah, it's Gregory Alan Isakov still tells a story with his lyrics. Number 2, this one is not. This one is like the opposite of stripped down. Illinois by Sufjan Stevens.
Yeah, that's definitely not stripped down in any way, shape, or form.
However, some of the songs have that feel, even though they are so well compiled, well composed. They have that feel. Sufjan in this album does this thing where every song somewhat feels happy. It feels happy, but it feels depressing at the same time. It's
happily depressing.
Happily depressing. I call it sublime. It's the marriage of despair and joy, and it's really interesting. Some of the best music does this, and I think Illinois is the most well-crafted album I think maybe ever written. It's so well-crafted.
So then, what would be number 1 then? If what would occupy a higher position than the most well-crafted album ever?
That's a good question. Number 1 is The Suburbs by Arcade Fire.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah,
that's an outstanding album.
It really is, and the reason I have it at number 1 is because I think it accomplishes everything not just well, but extremely well.
Oh yeah,
excellently. So the lyrics tell an entire story. No song is out of context. Mm-hmm. It all tells a story from beginning to end. That is fascinating to me. Also, the album flows so well. Maybe better than Love and War. Even though that album flows extremely well. I think The Suburbs flows very, very well. It's mixed to sound like The Suburbs, which not like sounds from the suburbs, like cars.
Cicadas and cars and children
children
with puppies.
But like
cicadas.
it has it has this detached feeling how it's mixed. It's mixed like it's a detached album.
I need to go back and I need to listen to that
You
album
do need to
again,
listen to
just
it.
because I haven't, like, when that album, like, came out and when that album was, like, at the forefront of everybody's mind, like, I didn't have the mixing ear that I do now, and I'll definitely need to go back and listen to that.
Yes, go back and listen to it, and it'll blow your mind. It's just fantastic.
It's definitely deserved all of the
absolutely
the acclaim that it
and
got.
for those of you who don't know, it won the 2011.
11?
12 was Fearless, I believe. Album of the year,
Was it?
Grammys.
Was it?
I think so.
I don't know off the top of my head.
That's a shame.
It won because it came out in 2010.
Okay.
So it won the 2011 Grammy Album of the Year award, which is unprecedented for such an unknown band like Arcade Fire.
Oh yeah, it was like that, the underdog of underdogs. I mean, you have a band like Arcade Fire winning the most prestigious honor of the land, and people are scratching their heads and they're like, "Who is this band? I didn't hear this stuff on the radio. I didn't hear this at the club." I mean, that would be terrifying.
And what did they do? They got up in their acceptance speech. They immediately said 2 cuss words.
Yeah. Yes.
Doesn't that make sense? I mean, really.
That sounds about right. That's definitely a pretty good list. That's definitely a pretty good list of top 5. So now we have somewhat of a common ground where we can work from when it comes to understanding your taste in music, which I would say is very different from Brett and ours, but
Definitely.
in many ways overlaps with ours. At least maybe
In it,
not
yeah.
in sound, but in principles.
In principles, yes. But I've never really been a metal fan. I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay. That's totally okay.
We'll convert you.
We'll convert you slowly, and you won't even realize it's happening. You'll just wake up one day and you'll be like, "Oh my gosh, metal is awesome."
We'll just play him some of Opeth's softer stuff, and he won't know it's Opeth.
That's actually what I would do. Is I would just go straight to Opeth.
Like, by the way, this album's metal, and you like it. Boom.
Inception.
One day the metal will rust.
No, it's when it's too heavy.
We got a different kind of episode planned today, obviously, because we have a guest with us here on the show, and because it is the first episode of 2015. We don't have any reviews to cover, just because nothing has come out yet, seeing as that it is January 4th, 2015. Nobody has really released an album yet that's worth us paying attention to it, and so we do have a little bit of news to cover, and then we are going to talk about what are some of the albums that we are looking forward to coming out in 2015, and then we're going to talk about the benefits of studying music, and Andrew's going to help us walk through that topic and the benefits of studying music at a formal level and what that can bring to us practically, and then theologically, and then how the gospel changes the way we look at things. So let's get into some news first. First of all, we already talked about vinyl. Let's talk about vinyl some more. Vinyl sales have hit the historic high again. Not the weed high, but the numbers high, which might have something to do with each other, but I don't know if it has anything to do with each other.
No, I think weed's too mainstream to have an effect on something as hipster as records.
Well, I mean, even still, like, the fact that vinyl continues to be the only format of music that's actually, like, increasing in sales. Every other format of music suffered another year of decline as far as sales goes, except for vinyl. And even though vinyl doesn't occupy very much of a spot within the overall market, the fact that it's the only format that continued to have a spike in sales is really, really encouraging. The number one selling vinyl album of the year is Jack White's newest vinyl, which I haven't listened to the album yet, but I remember my professor at AC who does FM 90, he was saying like how the vinyl has like grooves and things in it that depending on where you put it will like change the way it goes into the song. Like you can pick a portion of the vinyl and it'll intro the song one way, and then you pick a different spot and it'll intro the same song differently. And it like he like really thought outside the box and managed to put out a vinyl album that, I mean, got itself a Grammy nomination, but also really kind of stretched what's possible with vinyl. And
Yeah.
I only wish now that more artists would do that.
Absolutely.
And then I also wish that vinyl would kind of go down in price a little bit. because vinyl's
Vinyls
not
are
cheap.
expensive. They
Yeah,
are.
like that $40 vinyl album you were talking about.
Ben
earlier.
Howard?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben
Yeah,
Howard.
Ben Howard.
I mean, that's actually pretty par for the course. I mean,
Yeah.
$40 for a new vinyl is about normal.
I mean, if you look on the bright side, if you want some of the old classics, like you go to a Goodwill and they have vinyl at 20 cents a pop or 25 cents a pop.
Or you work in pest control and you have customers who are trying to sell vinyl and you manage to walk out with an original issue copy of Meet the Beatles for $50, which if I ever needed to sell that, I could turn that around and make some money off of it.
Yeah, but you work pest control, so you're meeting the Beatles anyways.
True that.
I was gonna say, I think part of, people can make arguments for hipster culture or whatever, about vinyl sales going up. But here's what I think. I think people want to like have a different listening experience, and that's what vinyl can offer.
That is
like,
what vinyl offers, absolutely.
Discs, MP3s, Spotify, you name it. It all sounds the same.
It all sounds digital.
But
and
if you put
compressed.
a vinyl on, it just has a different sound.
It comes alive in ways that you
It
just
does.
like. You just don't ever. You can't understand unless you listen to it on vinyl. Which go okay.
And just, I mean, generally speaking, various trends and styles go in cycles, and now it's just cycled back to vinyl.
Yeah.
Which
Because at this point, I really don't think that we can have any. I think that the platform for ways of recording and listening to music have pretty much been tapped out. Like, you can't really get any more advanced than digital music you download from the air. So, I mean, if someone wants a new experience, they have to go back through history.
Which means that logically that cassettes.
Next thing we know,
8 tracks.
next thing we know, U2's going to like plant their albums in our brains, and we're going to have listened to it without listening to it.
Yes, digital microchips implanted in our brains, and we just like blink a certain pattern to play an album.
That sounds terrifying.
That does sound terrifying.
That just sounds horrible.
The song's stuck in my head. I can't turn it off.
Literally,
Yes,
you can't
literally.
turn it off.
But we live in even though we live in a fallen world, we still have people. I would say everyone in some way or another is searching for authenticity. And musically, vinyl offers that.
Mm-hmm.
It offers like authenticity. It offers ownership. If I put, a CD disc on my wall, it doesn't look that.
It doesn't
cool.
look as cool as having like.
If you have a vinyl on your wall, like you look so cool, Like,
yeah, it just brings something to it that you can't get anywhere else.
Exactly.
Which is why I love vinyl, and which is why I have way too many vinyls.
Granted, like 99% of your collection you got for free from various sources.
This last set I paid $100 for, and I got about 50 albums, which I haven't even begun to listen through all of them yet. So on the other flip side of authenticity is Taylor Swift, which Taylor Swift. One final piece of news that's only worth mentioning because it is a comeback story of sorts. Taylor Swift's 1989 beats Frozen as the top-selling album of 2014, which we all just have this collective facepalm as we soak in the reality that Taylor Swift has managed to. She's unstoppable now. She beat freaking Disney.
You know there's going to be a war now because Disney's Illuminati.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Everything is Illuminati. Toby Mac is Illuminati. Lecrae is Illuminati. I mean,
Are we Illuminati?
well, if
I don't know. I saw you making a triangle earlier.
Taylor Swift's
Making a triangle right now.
Over my eye.
Over his eye.
Yes. Oh gosh, you're fired. 1989 sold 3.66 million copies in 2014, and Frozen only did 3.53 million. So it was close. It wasn't a dramatic wipeout or anything, but
still, Frozen took all year to do this. Taylor Swift took like 3 weeks to do it.
yeah, I mean, I think 9 weeks after only 9 weeks on sale, which according to the Billboard article, which that is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
I mean, and here's the thing: is like that number is only possible because she pulled her music from streaming services. Like if she had kept her music on on Spotify and some of the other streaming services, that wouldn't have happened. Like, she wouldn't have been able to hit a number that high. But it's just so disappointing in so many other ways, just because it's like, I don't want to acknowledge the fact that Taylor Swift was the best-selling album of 2014. I mean, I don't want to acknowledge that. In third place was Sam Smith's In the Lonely Hour with 1.21 million. And then, surprisingly enough, Pentatonix had the highest selling album of the year with 1.14 million.
Aka what?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. I saw that and I was like, they're that popular? Like, don't get me wrong, they're not bad, but I'm just kind of like, they're an a cappella group. Like,
Aka awkward.
no, you're not allowed to say that. You are not allowed to bring that from the camp that must not be named here into this discussion.
That's not from the camp that must not be named, though. It's originally from Pitch Perfect.
Oh, well, that's fine. It can come from Pitch Perfect, but I know it from the camp that must not be named. Never. Yeah, never.
Now, granted, Taylor Swift's music was like catchy, apparently. Now, I still haven't given it a listen. I must be honest. You would probably have to force me to listen to it, but you know, like I've heard from people whom I trust, whose musical opinion I admire. They say it's catchy, you know. But I think just beyond that, not just her music being catchy, I think she knows, or she has someone who's helping her present herself in a way that sells.
We talked about that before church with Ike.
Really?
Yeah, we talked about that with Ike and Jen and Sarah about like how there are these moments where she like appears to be just like a normal girl, but are those moments like just her, like them catching her at just the right time being a normal person, or are they like scripted so that way she can appear to be like this semi-regular girl? I mean, it's a fascinating question.
It is. And here's the thing. I think, and I'm going to use this word, but I think feminism is getting... I know, horrible word. But I think it's... I think it's getting big enough, quote unquote, where like, you know, people... I guess the public, interestingly enough, is kind of getting tired of raunchy women, of you know,
just doing
women
things
who have less standards.
Yeah,
for
like they're
themselves.
wanting women.
Like they're wanting attention.
Yeah, and they're wanting women that have their selling points aren't the fact that they're like practically naked. Like,
yeah,
their selling points is that they have talent and they have
exactly
something to display that's worth observing.
Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking like, you know, we're starting to throw out people like Britney Spears and Lady Gaga,
Miley Cyrus,
and well, I don't know about her, but
nobody knows about her.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about her, but the thing that Taylor Swift does is she, her sex appeal, which that's an interesting word, but I still think that's the main driving force of any entertainment. At least on her level.
At least on her level now, it's become a conscious thing where if you can't market sex appeal of some sort, then the odds of you actually getting out there at the top level go down quite a bit.
Yeah, and the thing is she's not putting forth sex appeal like straightforward. It's like her confidence is her sex appeal, and her independence is her sex appeal.
The fact that she's able to take her breakups and turn them into award-winning songs is...
Yeah, you know, there's like a quote that's like, she believed she could, so she did it. And that's like a really feminist quote, but...
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
But I think people are embracing this, especially the women, are embracing this idea of Taylor Swift, you know? Like, she can do it, so can I, you know?
Which is it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. It can get out of hand. I'll just say that.
Oh, absolutely. It can definitely get out of hand. Well, yeah, that was just a little bit of news for the year. I mean, news is kind of slow at the moment just because it's the first 4 days of 2015. Let's get into our our most excited albums for the year. I know Brett and I have one that's probably at the top of both of our respected lists, is the fact that Theocracy has said on multiple occasions that they are coming out with new music this year, which it's crazy to think, but As the World Bleeds came out 4 years ago.
Whoa.
I mean, yeah,
And it
is
still
kinda,
sounds better than most albums that are coming out today.
and yeah, and the thing about Theocracy too is when you listen to a Theocracy album, you're not sitting there like, okay, now I need more. You're sitting there and you're constantly listening to that and you're satisfied. Then you hear, but wait, there's more. Yes.
Yeah, definitely Theocracy.
It's like listening to Theocracy, it's basically like it develops a wellspring of living music inside you that constantly replenishes itself.
Okay.
It's like a now none of these exist, but it's like a good selling advertisement. You enjoy the advertisement, and then they say, "But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's
Call
more.
now, and you get double the offer."
For double the price because
No.
math.
The same price.
I've seen some that, for just, double amount more, we'll send you another one, and I'm just kind of like, who's actually going to buy that?
And for the cost of one more and the cost of shipping one more, you get two.
Right? Yes, because you have to you can't, combine packages because that's not a thing. So Theocracy is definitely one for me. I know Red has an album coming out in mid to late February, which hopefully we'll see a return to their prior sound where they actually, have orchestration, and they actually have orchestration really well. And then other than that, I mean, there's a couple of albums from a couple of bands that I'm looking forward to only because it's been like 2 years, bands releasing like cycles or whatever. And that includes Isley. It's been 2 years since Isley's last album, and I'm definitely excited for hopefully new Isley to come out. And then new Coheed and Cambria, which, I mean...
What?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, Coheed's coming out with a new one?
I don't know, but it's been 2 years since... It'll be 2 years since the Afterman Part 2.
I call it.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I got Coheed.
Then I have Theocracy.
No.
Yes.
No. Chigao. And then there's a couple of other albums that are just coming out, I'm sure, as the year goes on that we'll be excited for. But what are y'all excited for music-wise this year?
I mean, pretty much you said everything I'd be excited for.
Well, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
Okay. But since Brett is the same as mine, Andrew, what about you?
First and foremost on my list, he's already confirmed that he's going to release an album. I think early 2015, but Josh Garrels actually.
I did not know this.
Okay,
that's on my list now too.
Yes, he has been recording in his own home studio. He's been recording an album, bringing in a bunch of musicians. I noticed that he's been using a lot of like acoustic Americana country type instruments. So I'm thinking he's going to revert back to a really more folk sound.
Which that's fine with me.
Yeah, it's fine with me too. His voice is so cool that it works with folk and it works with really orchestrated.
It works with
full
all sorts of
things,
styles.
Yeah, it really does. And so I'm looking forward to him. I think, like in these past couple days, one of my favorite bands from Texas, they're called the Rocket Boys. They released an EP. I haven't been able to listen to it yet, but I think it came out like yesterday or today or something like that.
But an album dropped on Saturday?
It's an EP, so
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, not anything
Oh,
important, but
I forgot about this one slipped my mind too, but Mumford & Sons is going to probably release an album.
Really?
Yes. I found that out yesterday.
Yes.
I found that out
Really?
yesterday. Yes, and I was just like,
That hiatus didn't last long at all.
yeah,
the hiatus was definitely, thankfully, very short-lived.
Yes.
But here's the thing. If they release another album and it sounds exactly like Sigh No More, I will not be happy.
yeah, me neither.
I'll be like, okay, we've had Sigh No More. It was phenomenal. It was a masterpiece.
Yes,
Do something different.
we've had Babel, aka Sigh No More 2.
Part. Yeah, Sigh No More Part 2. That's essentially what that album is.
Yeah, it was. Another person that I am looking out for to release 2015, Coldplay, is talking about releasing one.
Yeah, they did talk about that. Ghost Stories was kind of like the prequel to something bigger, and they already are working on another album.
They are, yes, and I'm really interested in how that goes.
I didn't... Ghost Stories I just couldn't do. Like,
Yeah, me neither.
I couldn't get into Ghost Stories.
Also, I've just been itching for one of my favorite bands, Explosions in the Sky, to come out with a new album.
Yes, that will be nice.
This will be the 4th year since Take Care, Take Care, Take Care, which means that'll be they waited 4 years to come out with that album between All of a Sudden I Miss Everyone and Take Care. So I'm thinking this will be the year where they're finally like, you know what? We have some stuff. Let's record it, you know? Because that's how Explosions in the Sky does it, you know? They're like, they just jam, and it's really cool.
Like, hey, this sounds good. You think we could turn this into a song? Yeah. Let's do it. That's not a bad idea. Another one is Adele. Adele is working on 25, which
It's really called 25.
Well, I mean, I think that's what it is. Yeah, theoretically, I think that's what it's called, but I don't know entirely for certain yet. But I mean, it's Adele. I mean, she single-handedly took home 6 Grammys in one night.
And is honestly what I think, in my opinion, one of the few actual good pop artists we have.
Yes. I mean, she actually can
She's all right.
I mean, she can actually sing, and her songs actually have a little bit of substance to them.
I mean, she's not like the greatest singer in the world, but she's definitely better than most of the
Iggy Azalea.
Yeah.
She has a good voice. Her like, she's not overproduced in her music.
No,
the
it's
thing
real
that I
straightforward.
don't like is the lyrics are just so teenagey.
She has said that she's done with breakup songs and albums.
Is that right?
Yeah, so she's not going to be another Taylor Swift.
So
she
what is she
basically
gonna
like
sing about then?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think just mainly like she said that she was going through a really rough breakup at the time of writing stuff, so that was what dominated.
And she
her
managed
mind
to take it and turn it into one of the best-selling albums of the past decade. Good job, boyfriend. You you really helped us out there. There was one other one. I know Modest Mouse is going to release an album for the first time in like 7 years, which I'm just like, good grief! Like, it took you that long to come up with something? Like, they weren't even on a hiatus, to my knowledge. They just took forever to release an album. I know Avett Brothers have an album coming out, which I'm always down for.
Really?
Yes.
That makes 3 albums in 3 years.
They've done pretty dang well as far as getting albums out.
4 years, because Magpie came out in 2013. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Magpie was 2013.
So-
I have Magpie on vinyl. It's really good on vinyl.
I bet.
Yeah, Magpie on vinyl is really good. Kanye West has an album coming out, which, I mean, there's so many interesting things there only because he's so, like, blasphemous and, like...
And is this the album with Paul McCartney on it?
No, this is the album. Oh my God. No, this is where Kanye West is able to somehow stand in the presence of Paul McCartney and not be destroyed by Paul McCartney's musical
He
everything.
He ought to be.
Since the subject came up, I just have to say this. This morning I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see one of the biggest facepalm posts I've ever seen. It's basically a picture of 2 different Twitter posts saying that I don't know who this Paul McCartney guy is, but his career is about to explode thanks to Kanye. And then another one saying something about how, like, it's good that Kanye took in an unknown artist for his song so that he could advance his career. And I'm just like...
Is it possible to ban people from Twitter for being stupid?
I would hope so.
I mean, because God bless those poor children who genuinely believe that Kanye West is giving the spotlight to an unknown artist like Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Those poor children don't even understand.
Oh, that's
what they don't even, they can't even. Like, they just can't even.
Think about this. With as big of an ego as Kanye West has, do you really think he's going to give someone else the spotlight in anything?
Especially someone who might potentially, overshadow him at some point.
One thing I've heard is that every woman out there needs to find a guy who loves them like Kanye loves Kanye.
I've seen that before.
I haven't seen that, but
I wish I could love you like Kanye loves Kanye.
I mean,
but one more before we move on.
Yes.
One of my very, very dear friends is planning to... God, if he doesn't finish it by this year, I will be so unhappy. But he's going to finish an album this year. His name is Tanyan San Allison, and he's from Canyon, Texas.
I know that name.
He actually goes to Redeemer now, Austin.
You don't bloody say.
Yeah, I do bloody say.
You don't bloody say.
But he's a fantastic singer-songwriter. He'll be finishing his album The Year We Left Home here in 2015.
Hopefully.
And I've helped him a little bit with it. A couple of my other friends have helped him more than I have with it. So
Heck yeah.
so I'm really excited. It's like a home produced album. He's getting it mixed, I think. Either he's almost done or he's getting it mixed already. So and mastered. But I'm just really excited about it. It's going to be a really, really good album.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out. I'm looking forward to hearing it. Do you know a release date for said album? Do you have anything tentative yet?
No. Yeah, I just know he's close to finishing it. That's it.
Okay. That sounds about good. Well, we're getting pretty good in time. Let's go ahead and get on to the main course. So we had you come on because we want to have you help us through the benefits of studying music. You are a student of Amarillo College. Yes.
Ish, yeah.
You're a student of Amarillo College.
Yeah.
Don't deny it. You're an AC Badger.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Hey.
Don't be sorry. I enjoy it.
Yeah, I was about to say AC is a wonderful school.
Go Buffs.
And then yes, go Buffs. I suppose I should say that since I'm at WT now. Go Buffs. Yeah, whatever. And you are you are a student of music at Amarillo College, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what your focus is at the moment in your studies. Like, I know we talked about this the other day, but why don't you rehash for the internet what your present focus of study within your music studies is? Like, what part of it are you really focusing on? Are you focusing on playing? Are you focusing on composing? Are you focusing on theory? What's your thing right now?
Kind of just in the grand scheme, the grand picture, I guess you want to say, the big picture. I would say my focus is just on learning, becoming a better musician, because I really don't want to. I really don't want to go into performance necessarily. Okay. As much as I love classical music, it just doesn't grip my heart like folk music does, which is what I write. So, just learning more about music, learning more about how it works, different types, stuff like that, broadening my interests, learning how to, for something like choir, learning how to be a voice that's a mix, learning how to listen. Because I don't know if you knew this, but any good singer actually sings by ear. So if I have these notes in front of me to sing, and I have no ear, I can get off without knowing it.
Right.
But the best singer sings by ear, so the chords that are being played behind them, they sing in pitch, in key with that. And that's what any good singer does. So that's helping me in choir. And I've always had a good ear, but just learning how to mix in, learning how to do different, do different, like, harmonies.
I was about to say things.
Harmonies, yes, harmony.
What's the magic word?
Also, I've been studying piano. It just helps me as a musician.
And you've also been studying how to crank out Beethoven on piano.
Yes, which I frequently do at church practice that Austin comes to. So
yes, and you're just it's the third movement of Moonlight Sonata that you're always like cranking out.
Yeah, I like to crank out that one because it's so angry and rapid. And I was telling Austin the other day, I was like, I feel like during communion we should play the third movement of Moonlight Sonata.
That would be like an epic haunting communion.
It would be a haunting communion, and here's why. Because for the listeners who don't go to Redeemer, we always do a confession of sin, and I just think if the person comes up to the pulpit and says, "Okay, it's time to confess sin," it's like really, and that wasn't a very good impression of the third movement, but it's very angry. This very angry piece of music comes on. It's like,
what if we did Handel's Messiah instead?
We could do that after.
Yes.
For the reconciliation.
Yes, that would be perfect.
That would actually be a really good idea. So you would definitely say, like, as a student of music, like, I mean, obviously studying music helps you play music better.
Yes.
Like, that's a real obvious practical benefit. And then it also, like, helps you better understand music as a whole, and then it also helps you understand what you're hearing.
Yes.
Like, before you started studying music, I guess were you able to understand music the way you understand it now before you started studying music, or did studying music like not really help that out at all?
Interestingly enough, I did understand music well before I started studying, but in a different way, because I didn't know like terms for anything.
So you didn't have the vocabulary.
I did not have the vocabulary at all. And there were still a lot of things I did not know. But the thing that the Lord has blessed me with is a good ear. That's pretty much it. Like,
Good ears are hard to come by these days.
they are. Trust me. He blessed me with a really good ear. So I've always had a good ear for like what sounds good, what notes go together. That helped me, learn piano by ear. That's how I taught myself piano. I just heard some Coldplay songs and was like, sweet, I'm going to play these songs. Seriously. I did that. And it really just helped me understand like what was happening in the music. And plus, there are a lot of pieces that if you listen to, you can't get all the notes on one listen.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to read the music, and that helped me as well. So it absolutely helped my understanding of music, what chords have relationship with each other, because that's important in music. You can't just put, an A minor and an E flat major together. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's incompatible with each other. So you would definitely say also that like studying music has like helped you be able to evaluate what good music is from bad music. Like, have you had any change in like maybe taste or your opinion of songs or bands as you've studied music and you've I don't know, gotten more familiar with the vocabulary to say, oh, so that's what this means. This band doesn't do that very well, or something along those lines. Have your taste changed any?
In some ways, I've learned to appreciate classical music a lot more.
Which that's definitely useful and a very underrated thing these days. Like classical music is like, people are just like, oh, classical music, it's so boring and it puts you to sleep. And it's like, well, yeah, if you don't have the vocabulary and if you don't have the way to like appreciate it, it'll do that. But if you can like understand it, it's like the most fascinating genre ever.
It really is. It very much so is. As far as listening to other bands, I still kind of go with how I feel, but definitely if a song is really musically immature, I don't really like it.
What do you mean by musically immature?
It's not so much because, like, okay, most of the music I listen to, most of the chords are within the key signature. So we're not talking about, Gunger, where it's like seven key changes in one song,
Right.
I still like relatively simple music. But as far as mature music goes, it's much less like repetitiveness and more like the chords reflect the idea of the song.
Okay.
So I'll give you an easy example, but there's always an exception. Just remember that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If I want to write a happy song, I'm going to put a bunch of major chords together.
Right.
That's just a easy example.
Or if you want to write a sad song, you do a bunch of minor chords.
Exactly. But the thing is like, I've realized that you can take any chords and arrange them, play them in such a way where you can have all major chords and it could be the saddest song you've ever heard.
Yeah. There's a song from a movie that I've been watching as of late where the song is like this relatively like upbeat pop song, like it's a real piano-driven pop song, but it's played during a sequence that is absolutely terrifying and disturbing, and the lyrics to the song are about suicide. But it's like this really happy, upbeat pop song, and it's just like, these chords and this sound does not match what you're saying at all, but it works. But it somehow manages to work together really well.
And that's the thing I was talking about earlier when I was talking about my top 5 Sufjan Stevens Illinois album. It's like, and it's not so much that the music doesn't reflect the lyrics. It's like he crafts it in such a way where it feels like it shouldn't reflect the lyrics, but it does.
It's intentionally.
So
he's not just picking the chords and what he's wanting to do arbitrarily. Like he's familiar enough with it to make it say, this is what I want it to sound like, and this is how I'm going to make it happen.
He has a song called "Come On, Feel the Illinois."
That's a wonderful, wonderful name.
That is epic.
It is epic. And it's actually a 2-part song. And the first half or so, if you will, it's a little more than half, but it's in a 5/4 key signature. And it's very happy, lots of horns,
I like
it's
horns.
crazy. And then it just has this breakdown where it goes to a 4/4 time signature, like that.
Just like that.
Then it goes through this like total Rhodes piano solo, which is awesome, by the way.
Yes.
And then it goes into this part where the chords by themselves would be happy chords, if you will. But Sufjan has a group of people add these violin parts that make the song despairingly sad. It's so fascinating.
I'm not familiar with that album well enough. I need to go back and listen to it.
That's
again.
the thing that I've realized music can do. And part of that is studying music in school. Part of that is studying music on my own time and just listening. Is that you can make one instrument change the entire feel of a song. Mm-hmm. One instrument.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Opeth does that really well, where they'll introduce an instrument that can really clash or enhance whatever it is that they're trying to go for. And yeah, it's definitely something that is it's often really underappreciated in certain sectors of music, where it's just like, let's just have all the instruments going at the same time and not give them any voicing or any characteristics or anything like that. What would you say, like that's pretty good on the practical benefits? Like, let's talk about like theological benefits of studying music. Has studying music in any way brought you closer to God in any way, shape, or form?
Oh, absolutely. With understanding music more, I actually think we understand God more. And I really believe that God is an appreciator of the arts.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely.
He created them. And what's interesting is God is a creator. The first sentence in the Bible has God as a creator.
Yeah.
So God is an artist. Interestingly enough, if you take the whole Bible into context, music existed before the foundation of the world.
Explain.
Well, in heaven, and I'm going to use an interesting story that's from the Bible, but you know about Satan, who was an angel, and he became a fallen angel when he wanted to be like God.
As one account goes,
Satan, well, Lucifer, the angel's name, before he was Satan, was a worship leader in heaven. He had instruments, like on his body.
On his body.
Logic suggests that music has existed before the foundation of the world. Therefore, I don't think music was ever something just brought about by man, but it was inherited to us from the divine nature of God himself.
See, I don't know if I would necessarily agree with the status of Satan. I would actually, in many ways, disagree with that, but that's one definite possible interpretation of it. And as far as like music being something that existed before the foundation of the world, I mean, I don't know, but I would. I mean, I wish I could say that I knew, because that would be kind of cool. But
yeah, right.
I don't know. But what would you say as far as like? So you mentioned like the first sentence, like God is an artist and God is a creator, and God created the heavens and the earth and everything in it and filled everything in it. And then on a more like microscopic level, like you are a creator and you have these building blocks called notes, and you arrange these notes in certain ways to produce certain sounds. And I don't know, like at least when I think of me as a musician, which I'm nowhere near the caliber of a musician as you are.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, it's just the sad truth. Like understanding like these blocks and like the complicatedness of how these blocks work, and then just like thinking about how like this is just music, okay? There's more to life than music. But if the other facets of life are even more complicated than arranging notes in ways to produce certain sounds, just the majesty of how powerful God is to know all these things and like be able to create so intricately everything that we know and everything that we understand about Earth and about everything. Music is like a tiny little portion of the bigger picture, and if music is so hard at times to understand, like music is not easy at times. You'd say that it can be challenging to understand at times. How much more so the rest of God's creation?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely amazing to really think about it that way. And then even more so, like our desire to create, like we have the desire to create things, and that's part of God making us in his image. Like that's a way for when God said, let us make man in our image. One of the things that we have is that we create things. We make things. And that's kind of awesome. That's something that we can identify with God, is like, oh, you were the original creator and you created me in your image. So I want to make things too now. But you have made everything, and I just get to play with all the things you've made.
Which, I mean, that is like one reason why I think it's so important for us as Christians to understand the importance of making good music.
Yes.
Because if you think about we're created in the image of God, and part of the image of God is the desire to create beautiful things, and we create not beautiful things, I mean, that just seems almost profane to me.
Not necessarily like beautiful things, like in the sense that beautiful in some sense, but like excellence, like make things with
excellence. That's a better word.
Yeah, excellence. Because I mean, you look at the intricacy of like human life and biology, and you see how like the cell, like the cell, and all these other things are so intricately crafted. I can't talk today. Words are hard.
No, you can't.
Words are hard. Words are hard. Just kind of. It's just amazing how. We look at how detailed God is in creating things, and yet whenever we talk about like Christian music, for example, we see how it's the exact opposite in many ways.
Yeah.
It's disheartening, but the gospel, and then we have the gospel come in, and the gospel changes the way we study music, right?
Yeah.
Because we're not studying, like you're not studying music like to make like this ultimate name for yourself.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you're studying music as a Christian, knowing that your life belongs to Jesus now.
Yes.
And that changes the way your non-Christian friends, like you contrast with the way your non-Christian friends study music, and there's a difference, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there definitely is like a difference there. Have you been able to, have you ever had the opportunity to like communicate the gospel through music when you're at school or playing shows and things like that? Or have you ever had that opportunity yet?
Well, actually, interestingly enough, yeah. I think about lyrically, when I write songs, I think about lyrically communicating the gospel, but not in a way where it's like straight from the Bible, text for text. Because if there's one thing I've learned, and I think God really wants us to be smart about this kind of stuff, is like people get turned off if you talk about Jesus in your songs. Like,
yeah,
that's just the truth.
Forcedly so, like like shove it down your throat sort of way.
Yes. I mean, some people talk about Jesus in their songs, and it's like, like a Western song or like a Bob Dylan song, and it's like, I met Jesus well, like, like it's just like whatever. But people, if you mention God, if you mention Jesus, some people get turned off, especially if you mention like worshiping or stuff like that.
Like
Actually, fun fact I found out relatively recently, when Johnny Cash was trying to get discovered, the first song he played was basically a gospel song, and the guy's like, no, we're not producing this doesn't sell, this isn't good.
Yeah.
So then he played Folsom Prison Blues, and they're like, never mind. And I mean, that's like a massive change to go from like, I know my Jesus saved me, Satan can't make me die, then going to, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die.
Yeah.
Within minutes of each other.
Yeah,
that's a fascinating shift. That's definitely a fascinating shift. But
and that's the thing is like, so I think the Lord really wants us to be smart about things like this. So I try to communicate the gospel in a left-handed way, and how I do this is I analyze art. I analyze things like the Psalms that were music in that time. And I just think, what's the common bond between people, whether you're, white, black, gay, straight, Christian, non-Christian. What's the common bond? The common bond is suffering. Now,
Yeah, our fallen state.
now, contrary to popular belief, the common bond is not I was in love and I lost her. Like
Well, if you listen to rock, maybe, but
the common bond is suffering. Now, people a lot of times go through suffering based off of who they love or who they think is not going to use that word. Never mind.
yeah, I was about to say.
I was about to use the word bae.
Oh,
That's like the dirtiest word you could use on this show.
It is. I was going to put up quotation marks around it, but anyways.
the damage is done. Continue.
I know. I apologize. But, people oftentimes go through suffering or they scrutinize themselves on that way. But I think suffering is it's the human condition, whether you're in love or not, whether it doesn't matter. Everyone goes through suffering. And so when I write music from that perspective. So it connects with people. So a lot of my music you could call it sad. A lot of my music questions God. I know a lot of people do that. Because the majority of Americans believe in God. That's just
some
the
form
truth.
of God.
In some form of God. Yeah. I'm not going to say they believe in the one true God, but they believe in
Some type of God. Yeah.
Something. Yeah. They believe there is a deity.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people question God, whether they're Christian or not. They're like, what's going on,
Yeah.
If there is a God, why is this happening?
Right.
So I take it from that viewpoint, like a man who's going through suffering and he has to face the obstacles. And interestingly enough, I kind of have an album ready to be recorded. It's probably going to be recorded this year, and it's from the viewpoint of the wilderness, of Israelites particularly.
Israelites in the wilderness.
But it's not like from the viewpoint of the Israelites. It's from my viewpoint, being in the wilderness, not the physical wilderness, but spiritual, emotional wilderness.
Yeah, which I think that subject is definitely like lacking in the broader Christian scene, which I know you don't necessarily consider yourself to be a part of, but just as far as like songs containing the worldview in general, that's definitely a subject that isn't. Well, you're certainly not going to get any radio play on K-Love or Air One with songs like that.
No, not at all.
It's definitely not the positive alternative.
No, not positive. Yeah, the songs I've written are not positive. They are, in some ways. Shoot, that was loud.
Your phone.
If you heard my phone vibrate, I apologize. In some ways, they're just achingly sad. And interestingly enough, as I have it right now, the album doesn't end on a happy note. It like ends in the middle.
Huh.
So
is there a part 2 coming?
I wouldn't say there's a part 2 because I think the next album I'll write will probably be sad as well. It's just my forte. What can I say?
There's nothing wrong with writing songs from a sad standpoint.
I mean, if you read some of the songs, some of them are incredibly
Some
depressing.
of them are, yes, very depressing. Some of them are like, my friend, my brother have persecuted me. Anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really want it to end happy because I wanted the last song I have it right now is like the music is happy but the lyrics are kind of sad, and it talks about heading south for winter and you're like about to go on this huge journey, and so it's really interesting how it like kind of meets in the middle. And I didn't really want it to end happy because like everything ends happy, and I really want my goal is less that people be happy and believe that they can do it on their own power, and I want people to more understand that, hey, like
we need something.
Everyone's in the same boat. Like
we're all in the same sinking boat.
We're all in the same boat. Like, and yes, we need something. Yeah. If you're a Christian and you listen to the album, you'll say, wow, like I need Jesus. Mm-hmm. But if you're not, you'll say like, I need something. Because here's the thing. I think the wilderness is true for anyone who is a Christian or not.
Oh, absolutely. In some cases, the wilderness for a Christian can be worse than someone who doesn't necessarily know Jesus.
Yeah.
In some ways, that can definitely be worse.
So, yeah, I'm going to talk about... That album touches base with a lot of things. It touches base with shame, lost love, touches base with, like... friends are happy and I'm not, you know, like it talks about a lot of things. It questions God. It talks about, I give the analogy in one song of a dust storm washing away the things that aren't good in our lives. But it's so tumultuous. So it'll be interesting if I can get that recorded. But yeah, studying music definitely, it helps me analyze music, see who really is making music for music and not just to sell. See who really is writing music because they love it, because they put their emotion into it, and not just because they want to make a buck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get you. Yeah, studying music, like, it's something that I'll definitely want to do more of this year, and I definitely know that you're going to be continuing to do it for, as long as AC keeps your ball and chain tied up on you. So yeah, definitely is a subject that everybody, like, in some sense knows, like, studying music is something that they should do, but I guess, like, the benefits can often be sometimes a little bit obscure, especially, like, Christians have different benefits for studying music than non-Christians do. Like, we get to know God better through it, and so study music, people. Like, really, like, just study something about music. It doesn't have to be complicated theory, just study something.
Yeah, in order to study music more, appreciate it, you don't have to go on the deep level of music theory, which, trust me, is a lot more complicated than a lot of people could handle. But just study various types, study what makes music good, at least study what keys are, that kind of thing.
Yeah. A little bit goes a long way. Like, the more you know, the better off you are, definitely.
And one way of studying music is listen to a lot of it. Maybe even music you don't like.
Whoa.
Mind blown.
That's crazy. Also, if you ever decide to study theory, just remember, every good boy does fine.
Yes, I was about to say, every good boy does fine.
Face.
And face. And also, all cows eat grass, and George Bush drives fast always.
We're not going to explain what those meanings are, what those acronyms are. You have to go study music to find out yourself.
Yes, you do.
Let's go ahead and start closing the show out. Recos. Do we have any recos for this week, Brett? What do you reco?
I am relatively late to this crowd, but I recently installed Clash of Clans onto my phone, and it's really fun, and you should play it.
Okay.
Is that the game that Kate Upton is endorsing?
No, that's like that's like something of fire.
I wouldn't know. I just know
basically
that Kate
it's
Upton...
a less cartoonish copycat of Clash of Clans, from what I understand.
I don't play iPhone games, so I don't know. Do you have a reco that you would like to reco for us, Sir Andrew?
I would say musically, I was talking with Austin earlier about my top 5 albums of 2014, and there's this unknown band that came out with a full length this year. They're called Jamestown Revival. If you like anything that's really bluesy or country, or I wouldn't say it's that country, it's really just bluesy. It's got a lot of energy. It's kind of like the Avett Brothers, but like more Texas-y. Mm-hmm. It's just really good music, really good harmonies too, and good lyrics. Jamestown Revival. Check them out. They have an album out called Utah. They're not Mormon, I promise. So
they're not Imagine Dragons.
They're not Imagine Dragons. So, but yeah, they're incredible. They put out my favorite album of 2014 for sure.
Okay. I'm going to recommend, for those of you that have Xbox Ones, I'm going to recommend the Halo 5 Guardians multiplayer beta. I got to play a lot of it yesterday, and it's like, I haven't been excited for Halo multiplayer in such a long time. Like, one of the modes that they incorporated is like Counter-Strike meets Paintball meets Halo, and it's a combination that I've been wanting.
Paintball?
Yeah, like, okay, so it's the Counter-Strike formula, where you Counter-Strike, like, you get, you start off with a certain number of lives, and then you get hit, you get out, and you don't respawn until the next round. And then paintball, and that this all happens on like these futuristic like sci-fi paintball fields.
Okay.
Which
Interesting.
with the Halo mechanics.
So is it like cyberpunk-esque, would you say, or
Nah, probably not cyberpunk, but it feels so much better than the last couple of Halo multiplayers that have definitely come out. So I'm definitely excited for that. Yeah, let's go ahead and wrap it up. Brett, thanks again for taking time out of your usual Sunday for this. Andrew, thanks for coming up and doing, man. We
yeah,
really
thank you, man.
enjoyed it.
I definitely
Enjoyed it.
appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it. We're definitely glad that you came on. And for those of you that are listening, thank you, of course, for listening. And we always want to take time at the end of each episode to mention the gospel. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, but just to reiterate it again, that the gospel saves us to eternal life. But in the process of eternal life, there's a bunch of small things along the way. And one of those things is music, and one of those things is studying music. And Christ has redeemed the entire man by his blood. And so the entire man now comes under the lordship of Jesus Christ. And either Christ has redeemed all of us or he has not redeemed any of us. And because Christ has redeemed all of us, he has redeemed our passion for music, our desire for music, and he has given it a different purpose, and he has given it a different end than it was when we were dead in our sins and our trespasses. Because Jesus has raised us to life, he has raised our music, the way we appreciate music, up along with it, and has changed our taste, has changed our desires, and has changed the way that we go about learning music and why we learn it. And so the gospel definitely has a lot to say when it comes to the study of music and our motives for studying music. And that's, we always want to take time to try to link the gospel back to whatever it is we're talking about, because the gospel is the reason why we do this at all. The gospel is definitely the foundation for our whole lives as Christians, and is the foundation for this show and the foundation for Another Ascending Lark, and we always want to take time to hit back on said points. So I am Austin.
And I am Brett.
And I am Andrew Michael Akins.
And can we find your music anywhere at the moment?
I have a really old, bad demo album online that I'm not going to tell you the link of. So.
I'm totally going to find that now.
So just find me on social media.
Okay. What's your Twitter handle?
The Andrew Akins, same on Instagram as well. So
Speaking of Twitter handles, if you want to contact us at Another Ascending Lark, you can hit us up on Facebook at Another Ascending Lark. You can find us on Twitter at AALblog. You can find us an email at anotherascendinglark@gmail.com. And of course, you can visit the brand new anotherascendinglark.com, where I spent most of Christmas break painstakingly revising it to get it to actually look something, pretty respectable, decent, all those positive, happy.
positive, encouraging
attributes. All right, well, thanks you guys for listening. You guys have a great week. We will see you next week when we kick off our season on breaking down Francis Schaeffer's Art and the Bible. Get yourself a copy on Amazon or at a Christian bookstore near you, and we're going to slowly go through a classic text on art and the Bible, and we hope you would join us for that starting next week. Until then, you guys have a wonderful week, and we will see you soon.